Now, place value is also described in terms of periods, especially with the whole numbers. Now, you can imagine that there's really actually a period here and that the blocks continue off in the other direction where we have something like decimal values that represent parts of a whole. But focusing in on what we have in front of us, we see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different periods as they are outlined at the top here. So we have the trillions place, where there are 3 separate columns representing what would be the 100, 10, and 1 trillions. So this pattern repeats and it actually extends to the left even further as well. So I could say that there are another number of blocks here that could be named and given some place value. We'll stick with these for now though. We have in the very first 3 columns the ones place, right? So a whole number value goes here in the ones column. If I have 9 items, well, then I can place it in the column just like this with no problem. Now, if I were to remind you of one simple fact, it would be this. Our whole number system is based on tens, which means that if I counted up 10 objects, let's say I have 10 objects here, after a while it would seem ridiculous to continue to count these the way that we normally would just by corresponding to a single digit, right? What makes more sense in our mind is to name these, and how we name them is very important. What we do is we actually say that instead of having 10 ones here, right, I would then just say I have 110. And it helps because we can extend this principle indefinitely. It helps in scaling. And so instead of having 10 ones, I have actually just 110 here, right? And 0 ones. This naming convention is very helpful as far as a perspective on understanding lots of computational aspects moving forward. So how do we name a whole number? Well, typically, if we want to name a whole number, we're going to start at the leftmost period. Name whatever the 3 digits are, followed by the period name, and then place a comma, repeat the process. So put commas, name the next number, follow it up with a period, and the only difference is when you get to the end, we never name the ones period. So for example, if I'm asked to name the following number, I see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different periods, which means this is going to be in the trillions to begin with. The very first digit is 8, and then we put our comma, followed by 165, comma, right? Now, 165, 165 would be how we would say that if it was in the ones place, but it's in the period of the billions, and so we would have to say 165 billion. And then the next few values here, we have 432 followed by the period millions, 098 or 98,000, and then lastly 710. Notice we don't say 710 ones, we just leave it as is. So we could also ask a question this way. Find me specifically the place value of the following digits. So for example, part A here asks me to find the place value of the digit 7. Well, that's here. Notice that we have 1, 2, 3 terms at the end, and then the fourth is the one we're interested in, which happens to be in the ones place of the thousands period. So we have 7,000 would be the place value of that digit. We can also talk about, let's say, the 3 here, which is our last example. It's in the next place closest to the 6. So as we fill in our blanks here, we get to that digit, and we can see that 63 million would be the place value where we're interested in placing our comma. 407,218 is the name of the digit, and so we can see from this that the 3 is in the millions place, or the ones of the millions period.